Hey everyone, welcome to the Easter Pod. I'm your host, Corey Easterday, and on this episode, we are chatting with the one and only Tecoby Hines. The music you heard up top is the title track from Tecoby's latest album called Days Under Sun. As we cover in our conversation, Tecoby is a music and coffee enthusiast with a passion for community, creativity, entrepreneurship, and bringing people together, whether it's through a shared love of music, a great cup of coffee, or just a desire to positively influence the world around you while being a catalyst for change. We get into that and so much more. Wide-ranging conversation as always. Tecoby was a phenomenal guest to have on, so I'm really excited for you to hear our conversation. But before we dive into the episode, I just want to say a very heartfelt thank you, as always, for listening, supporting, sharing, and all the ways you've engaged with the show. It truly means a lot. And be sure to check out our latest episode with author, podcast host, community engagement specialist, nonprofit entrepreneur, cultural arts advocate, I could go on, Keith Cradle. Keith was awesome, and I really enjoyed that conversation as well. And to be quite honest, selfishly, I just love doing this podcast because every guest I've had on always brings something interesting, innovative, and inspiring to each conversation. So I definitely encourage you to go back and check out our previous episodes. If you like the Easter Pod, you can follow the show on social media at the Easter Pod. Listen to us wherever you get your podcasts and help the show by subscribing, following, and leaving us a rating or review. Many more wonderful guests coming up in future episodes, so you definitely want to be sure to subscribe so you can check those out. As always, shout out to Laird Creative Agency for helping to produce this episode. And last but certainly not least, check out Tecoby and all his work, all the stuff he's involved with on social media. His handles on like Instagram, Twitter, his personal handle is it's Tecoby. And for his coffee company, Days Under Sun Coffee, it's at Days Under Sun Coffee. And absolutely, without a doubt, be sure to listen to his newest album, Days Under Sun, in full. It's incredible. Check it out. Listen to it on Spotify, Apple Music, and pretty much anywhere you listen to music. Without further ado, my conversation with Tecoby Hines.
Days in the sun, I wanna make most of it. Enjoy the good times, celebrate days of bliss.
So, if you know anything about me, you know how much I love coffee. I think it's safe to call it a coffee obsession. My wife Megan and I, we love going to all different roasters and local coffee shops here in our city of Charlotte where we live, and just when we're traveling the country all around, that's like the number one thing. We got to find the best coffee shops. And luckily for us, about 3 miles or give or take from where we live is a coffee shop that if you're in the Charlotte area, you 1000% need to check out. It's called Enderley Coffee Company. And so we go into Enderley. Sometimes I can be a little bit curmudgeonly, all right, but my wife is very great people skills, very good at making friends. She says hi. She starts chatting it up with the person making our coffee, who is sitting across from me right now. And I'm so glad that she pulled me out of my curmudgeonly shell and was making that connection and chatting it up. And I'm so glad that I've been able to get to know this person. He's a musician, entrepreneur, barista, coffee and simplicity enthusiast, and an all-around phenomenal human being. Not enough adjectives for him. I'm so excited to finally have him on the pod and to be able to chop it up and have some great conversation. Tecoby Hines, welcome to the Easter Pod. How are you doing today?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me, bro.
Yeah, so we've been talking about this for more than a month or so. It's so good to finally make it happen.
Right, man. It says a lot about you, man. It says a lot about you making it happen.
That's I don't know if I try to do this podcast thing well. I try to be a good host, but if nothing else, I try to at least make it happen.
Right.
At the bar is low, just make it happen. So we were talking before I started recording here, and I always have to remind myself, kind of like save it for the podcast. We've been able to become good friends over time, and I so many questions and so many things we want to chat about. Part of the reason you're here. And so we're chatting about all these things. I'm like, save it for the podcast. So one of the things we were talking about is Megan and I were just recently this last weekend the time of this recording, we went up to Raleigh to go photograph a wedding with Easterday Creative. And you were telling me that Raleigh is a very special place for you. So maybe you kind of share with our listeners that connection about Raleigh, maybe how it kind of ties into what you're doing now, how you ended up in Charlotte.
Yeah. Man, Raleigh was kind of where I started pretty much like everything I'm doing, at least like mentally or like leaning into them and like learning more about them. So like me and coffee, I worked at Black and White. And then like with music, I had friends like kind of be very, very encouraging me like, yo, you should definitely like lean into this. I think you got great potential. And then probably the most important thing is that I met my wife in Raleigh. So, those are kind of the three special things that like Raleigh just is. And just like, even the reason why I ended up going to Raleigh, and the reason why I continued to stay like, for the 3 years that I was there. Raleigh's just a really, really good place too. Like it's a really dope spot to just be in and hang out. So.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that you worked for Black and White Coffee, because that was one of the shops we went to. Absolutely,
and when you go back, you should go again.
It was really good. Yeah. We got some beans there. I mean, we did it up.
What'd y'all get?
I don't remember. We just kind of look at the bags. We spent like 5 minutes looking at them. Oh, those flavor notes sound good.
Hey man, that's the best way to be. Like honestly, going in just like not necessarily knowing what you want, but knowing how to like find what you want.
Exactly. I don't know if we're developing our friendship. So there's still a lot of information about each other to learn. But so you probably don't know this, but I worked at Starbucks for a period of time.
Oh, okay.
Which I understand, has its own connotations in the craft roastery community, if you will. Yeah. But so that was almost 8 years ago or more. So it's been a long time. But I remember becoming a barista trainer and having to do coffee tastings with people that I would train, and learning about flavor notes and different foods to pair with coffee. I mean, that was like kind of the basis for that kind of sparked that love for me. So when I go into shops like Black and White, I'm able to understand a little more of what's happening, the process to get there.
Yeah, man. They Black and White were super just kind to me, bringing me in. Most of the time I just end up bagging coffee, which was interesting because like it was a very good laid back environment, just getting a bunch of work done. But I definitely got a chance to see like the inner workings of coffee and like what makes this thing go. Like what's the work that you gotta, like what's the amount of work that you put in for something like this to go, and to sustain. So
yeah, and you have a lot of entrepreneurship that you're doing in the coffee space. So we're obviously going to touch on that in our conversation, talk more about that.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, so on the way over to the studio today for our conversation that, again, I've been looking forward to for a long time. So I do appreciate you being here, coming on the podcast. I was listening to your latest album, Days Under Sun.
Yeah.
And I think when I first listened to it, like when it first came out, I remember reaching out to you on social media, on Instagram, and I think I described the vibe I was experiencing with it as, you're driving through the city, you got the windows rolled down, it's a nice summer day. That's exactly what I did today. It's got, that vibe holds up. I mean, this is my official plug for anyone that hasn't listened to it yet, to go listen to Tecoby's album, Days Under Sun. It's so good from start to finish. So let's dive into that a little bit. So, I mean, talk to me about the album, like what inspired it, what was the process like to make it, what's it been like since you put it out there? I mean, just whatever you want to cover, just talk about that.
Man, so I had the album done for like, I say 4 to 6 months. And the more I listened to it, the more I realized like it's really a lot inspired by my wife. And like an initial conversation we had, we weren't married a year. We just had our 1 year, May 2nd. Sorry. And if we edit that out, I appreciate it.
Oh no, we're gonna leave it in there. We're gonna get you. No, I'm just kidding.
But she by way of me asking how I was doing as a husband, and I probably was about 2 or 3 months into being a husband. She ended up getting to this place where she was saying that she felt like I focused more on my music than I did like my family, which kind of hit me in a very place. My ego was hurt, my pride was hit, And so I was like, man, at the time I was reading through Ecclesiastes, which that's probably why I end up asking, because I'm like, yo, am I like really doing what I'm supposed to be doing? And she ended up like, yeah, she cut me deep, man. She cut me real deep. And so that led to kind of the title song, Days in the Sun, which led to pretty much every other track on the album, to where I wanted to focus on like maxing out like my life and like making sure that I was a good husband, a good dad, just a good man, and not making my whole life about being the greatest artist that I could be, but starting with the like person. And so Days in the Sun starts with that and ends with that. So
yeah, having listened to it through a few times and just enjoying each track, it kind of colors it even more to know the story behind it, like the concept as a whole. And I always, I'm a drummer. I guess I can say I still am, even though it's been a couple years since I played. Still a drummer. I was in a band for 7 years, and I greatly miss making original music with other people and just having that feeling of there's an unspoken thing to it that you can't quite describe about bringing a song together, bringing albums together. But all that to say, I've always appreciated and was inspired by other musicians where the album itself was a concept, was born maybe from a singular idea, and you kind of spread it out over. So it feels like with your album in particular, it feels like there's a through line for me of music and grooving and vibes and just all that. Like every track kind of, it flows so well from start to finish. It's definitely one of those albums you want to like, if in my opinion, you want to like kind of hit play at track one and just let it run all the way through.
Yeah.
And conceptually to hear that is really interesting.
Yeah. Like, yeah, man, to me, it's like, it's probably my favorite work to date, just because I was like, man, I spent a little bit over a year and some change, like finishing it and making sure it didn't suck. So it's good to hear that people are saying that it doesn't suck.
If that is the bar, it surpasses that bar greatly. Okay, that's a pretty low bar. No, it's really good. I mean, I know how validating that is when you spend so much time on something that people. So I guess I want to talk more about kind of the maybe like parts of the album. But so do you feel like the reception has been largely positive? Yeah,
like some people I admire, they keep me humble by saying, oh, it's solid. It's solid. But people who are actually listening to it love it. They have favorite songs. They have like, man, bro, I need to see this live. Like I'm loving that part of it all, because I'm like, yo, that gives me a lot of just a lot of energy, a lot of encouragement, a lot of confidence. And I'm not typically an affirmation validation guy, but I'm trying to humble myself to receive those things. And so it really was like overwhelmingly good to just kind of watch people respond to a body of work that I took my time on.
Do you have any, it's all a labor of love, right? But do you have any favorite tracks on it, or things that if somebody was going to hit play for the first time, you'd be like, make sure you listen to this or check this out?
Right now, 91 Rodman. It's probably one of the shortest songs on the album, but like just rap wise, I'm like, man, I surprised myself with that one, but it was good. I enjoyed it. Yeah.
What about that one for you in particular?
It was different, like different style, different approach, different technique. A lot of like, I like had to practice some different breathing for that record, because I just never rapped like that before. So I was really thankful on how that came out.
Now, is it, I mean, just the title alone, is it directly inspired by 91 Dennis Rodman? I mean, where's the...
As a concept, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, like, just lyrically, like the first two lines probably says everything, but I'm also born in 91. And I was like, oh, like I kind of like this. And then I was like, yo, I just thought I was just starting to think about dyeing my hair, and which is now dyed. And just how different and all over the place Rodman was. I was like, yo, this is what I feel like. So
yeah, I'm only a couple years older than you, or 3 years older than you, I think. And so we kind of grew up in the same era with sports and pop culture and basketball and NBA and those 90s Bulls, man. I mean,
dude,
highly influential, transformed the game.
Yeah, change. I mean, how you see? I would say, of course, Boston, Lakers, Bulls, but like any team with Michael Jordan on it, bro, it's just gonna be electrifying. Like you just can't beat that team, and then to add Rodman to that, dude.
Rodman has such a fascinating career to everyone for a number of reasons, but to me, because I grew up knowing him as Rodman on the Bulls, so to get older and to learn about the Spurs days, the Pistons days, he was one of the core members of the bad boy Pistons.
Big time. Like, but he wasn't scoring. Bruh, he wasn't scoring the ball. He was literally the most annoying player on the floor every time he was on the floor.
It's only been, 15, 20 years. It hasn't been that long of time, but to see how much the game has changed, you wonder if a guy like that could even survive in today's NBA.
Bro, I think he would thrive in today's NBA just because, he has one role. You got one job. Like, he doesn't have to score. He doesn't have to facilitate. He just has to annoy the absolute crap out of you the whole time.
Well, and to answer my own question, he would absolutely, and I agree with you, he would absolutely thrive in today's NBA just because he's not taking 23s a game or whatever. Because if you look at the teams even, and we're going to talk about this a little more too, because I saw you tweeting about the finals last night, and I was like, I definitely want to dive into that a little bit. But when you look at teams that succeed, it's like, yes, you have all the shooting or whatever, but they have the Rodmans, they have the Marcus Smarts, they have the Draymond Greens, they have the,
Yeah, like all those guys who just, like I said, they got one job. They got one job, bro, and they get paid millions of dollars for one job.
That's how you win a title.
Bro, that's how you win a title. Role playing, just doing your thing. Like, Robin would be scary in this game. Yeah,
so kind of one of the last questions I had about the album that I was thinking about, and we can obviously talk about whatever, but that I had in my head before we were sitting down to record is that, so talk to me about the track Legendary, because I feel like Days Under Sun, Legendary, 91 Rodman, like, and the one I was listening to today, the second one, What Really Matters, that one stood out to me. So let's actually talk about two of those tracks. Like, can you talk a little bit more about like Legendary, What Really Matters? Because those are two that really stood out to me.
Yeah. Man, Legendary was just one of those records. I think I recorded that junk a long time before, and I found it while I was working on the album, and it just wasn't mixed. And I was like, I asked my friends, bro, what are we doing with this record? He was like, bro, whatever you want. But and the thought process behind it was that, and the idea of these days under the sun, and kind of what legends are made of, and what makes a person great, what makes pretty much someone a hero, is essentially how you serve, and but you got to be yourself, and you got to make sure you're able to keep the main thing, and all I could think about is my kid, dude, and I wanted to make a record to where she could go back and listen to and hear my thought process, and hear how I'm thinking about things, and hear how I'm viewing things, and something that wasn't just so, in a sense, judgmental, and but it was something that was super simple, wasn't over lyrical, that just was a good feel, but also could teach you something at the same time. And I feel like I accomplished that with Legendary. So Legendary is definitely one of my favorite records for sure, especially performing it.
Yeah, and perfect transition, because you, within the last few weeks, have been outperforming a lot more. You went on a little mini tour, which looked like a ton of fun. I don't think I told you this, but when I seen all the promotion for it, we only know each other, really started talking maybe a few weeks at that point, getting to know each other more. And I was like, I wonder if it would be too forward to try and be a Tecoby fanboy a little bit, try and get to every show and just hide in the trunk or something, or just kind of stow away and pop along the tour. I offer nothing. Maybe I could have run the merch table. I don't know. Maybe I could have bust out the electronic drums. I don't know. But anyway, it just looked like a ton of fun going on that tour. It made me very obviously reminiscent for my days being in a regional performing act and going to different venues. And so, I mean, maybe talk about that tour a little bit, like how it came together, what it was like. And I'm mostly curious about your experience going on that tour, putting it together, and just how you're connecting with this art that you've made, you know, out performing it live, like putting it out there, like playing it for people in a live setting. It's, in my experience, it's doing it live. It's always just a different experience. It's a different kind of thing than when you're laying down the recording. So just whatever you want to talk about, but just talk about that experience, taking it out on the road.
Man, I made it a point to do my shows in coffee shops, and just wanted to turn those things into venues, because I was like, man, I like doing intimate shows. Like, I'm not a big enough artist to where I can sell out
yet.
This is true. Like, I can't sell out like neighborhood theater yet. Like, even though they should definitely hit me up, I haven't been able to do Fillmore. I haven't been able to do like any of these spaces yet, which I'm looking forward to doing such. But at the time I was like, man, how do I like still like go out and just reach new ears, and like connect with new people. And I realized like it was just time to go for it. I had some friends around me that was like, dude, you could definitely do a tour. And of course I'm looking at them like, bro, where the money at? Like, I don't see how am I supposed to go out here on the tour? And very much thankful for the wisdom given to me. It was like, dude, just make them day trips. Like, just make them day trips, make them real easy. Like, you ain't gotta do it like that. So I ended up reaching out to 3 specific coffee shops, Anchor Coffee in Winston, the Green Bean in Greensboro, and I went and did my hometown, which was the like most packed one in Rocky Mount, North Carolina at Lamira Coffee. I always end up saying that name wrong, so I'm like making a big point to make sure I say that right. But man, they thankfully all said yes. They were all down like to like host me and have me there. Anchor Coffee is a friend of mine's. Green Bean it's a dope space. And Rocky Mount is just my hometown, so it would have been weird if they charged me. But they showed a ton of love, and I just got connected to all of them, man, and I have a great appreciation for them, for real. But it was fun, but it's also very hard, because like I've never had to coordinate that much and communicate that much, and so I failed and had a lot of gaps in the middle of it. But still, man, we were able to enjoy ourselves and make the most of it. So appreciate the crew.
Yeah, and we were texting about it a little bit, and you said, I was like, I hope it went well. And you're like, there's a lot of great stuff. There's a lot of horror stories. Yeah. Maybe we won't share. I mean, you can share whatever you want. We don't share the horror stories on the pod, but I'm sure it was a learning experience overall. Oh
yeah, man. Like, I mean, the horror story was that Greensboro was an empty room except maybe one or two people, and it was like a complete empty room.
Oh no!
Right, and so. Like, some tickets actually sold, which would still baffle me to this day. Like, people bought tickets, but they didn't come. And so I was like, oh, like, what is this? But I still played it. We still ran through our sets like it was a bunch of people in the room. And so that was like, they say it's a rite of passage though, right? Like,
I was just going to say, that's where you get that phrase about like paying your dues, or those cliches or whatever, because you are not the only musician to play to an empty room, my friend. I can, at least not in this podcast studio.
Man, dude, I was, it was humbling. Not that I was like too high on myself, but I was definitely like, dang, I still got to play this show.
You still got to play the show.
Yeah.
I distinctly remember on one little regional tour that we put together. So my band, it was the same group of guys for like 6 years. Our last year we added a 4th member, but it was always this 3-piece of my best friends in high school. Yeah. They're still some of my best friends to this day. And it was guitar, bass, and drums, and then one vocalist. And it was just very, simplistic. And we started out like, we're going to be a jam band in the style of Dave Matthews, Carter Buford, their drummer is one of my all-time musician heroes.
Okay.
He's an incredible drummer. I mean, just, we're like, oh, we have all these influences, like Red Hot Chili, you know, we're 16, 17. So we're like, we're going to sound like Red Hot Chili Peppers. We're going to sound this, we're going to put it all together. And then every song we created at the start was just, they were all trying to be different from each other.
Yeah.
We would name them after the musical style. Like, I think we had one song called 90s R&B or something.
Okay.
Like, it was all over the place. We were very much in that high school phase of like trying to find your identity, trying to find your sound. But all that to say, like, that was a huge learning experience doing that over 7 years, just creating with other people. And I remember, you know, our very first show was our guitar player's family, like 5 or 6 family members. And there would be many shows where just not a lot of people would show out. And so this particular little regional tour that we did, like starting in Ohio, kind of traveling out, we went maybe, I don't know, 5-6 hour drive into Indiana, the crossroads of America, as it's called every time I drive. And we were just putting so much effort and energy into this tour, and like, we're taking the show on the road. We're going to, you know, spread our music to all these new people or whatever. And, you know, we finally have an album that we're happy with, and we're going to, you know, all this kind of hype, you know, is that, you know, and we get to this venue in Indiana, and it's literally like the venue owner and his wife, or there's like 3 people.
Yeah.
And we're a full, I mean, it doesn't matter what your setup is, because you're like, I'm here, I have to play, I have to give it my all.
Yeah.
I hit those drums as hard as I ever hit them in my life. I'm like, we're going to have a great show, you know?
Yeah. Like, and man, Marv Crown, Foot Rocket, Pessimist at Best, we all just went and did our sets, man. Like, we just went and did our thing, and like it was still a good time. Like, some homies still just showed up, and like we got some photos out of it. And yeah, man, I think even somebody took a video which led to another show, which like I don't know, I can't be any more thankful than that. Like, yeah,
and there's something special, especially when you have other acts perform. I mean, you're in it together.
Yeah,
something special about doing it together. You got your crew, you got other people performing. You're in together. You're giving it your all. I mean, yeah, that, and it kind of ties into what you're sharing about your album as a whole for me, in that, you know, it's about keeping what really matters, to steal the track title, keeping that first and foremost. Yeah. And what really matters in that moment is, we're here, we made this commitment, we're going to do our best. And that's the kind of discipline, like, you know, discipline is like a word, has a negative connotation, but that's kind of like good, healthy discipline that I think sets you up to be successful when you have 500 people at the venue, because you're like, we remember when it was 2 people.
Yep. Remember when it was 2 people? I remember when, like, I'm never going to forget that Greensboro show. Like, there's something in my room, I wrote it down just to like remind myself, like, dude, I played an empty room. Like, I want to keep doing this. I did that like with a happy heart. I definitely want to continue to do this. So.
Yeah. And before we get off the music stuff, you just seem to have like this network of it. Can you talk about some of the other people that maybe like worked on the album or performed with you? Or like, I mean, you just have this kind of network of people that are helping you create these wonderful tunes, you know?
Yeah. So the title track, Days in the Sun, is done by a brother named Joshua Heath he's in like the New Jersey, Philadelphia area. But he's dope, man. Like, sent me that record. I fell in love with it immediately. So he did the title track. Legendary is produced by a friend of mine who's a part of a kind of producer group called The Kinetics. And they did Legendary. And 91 Rodman is by my homie Zarius Tajan from out of Fayetteville, North Carolina, which might also be another reason why it's part of my favorite. Cause I'm like, that was just a timely record when he sent it to me. And then every other record on it is produced by a dude named Obed Padilla from out of San Diego, which he pretty much probably has the most production in my catalog out of everybody. So.
And so who did you have on the tour with you also? Like who? Because I know you had a guy. Well, I don't want to guess. I saw you had somebody like playing bass maybe, or doing some different sounds, or like who?
Yeah. So Marv Crown pretty much took all of my records because I still had the stems. So I would send him to Marv, and he pretty much would throw them into He'd throw them into his computer. Like he would run these tracks, but he would take the bass out and he would play the bass of that record, in which he learned within 2 days. So he learned like a boatload of songs in 2 days and just like did his thing. And then
that's super impressive.
Yeah. He's otherworldly, man. And then Pessimist at Best. She works at a coffee shop here in Charlotte, the Hobbyist. And because Marv Crown is from Raleigh, and then he like on the Greensboro show he brought his roommate Foot Rocket, and Foot Rocket is dope too. Like house music, like so that whole squad was just a vibe, bro.
That's awesome. I love it. I just love hearing about the collaboration aspect to it. Also, I mean, because I think again we were talking before we were recording, and keeping track with my bad habit of using all the good material before. But just that idea of I feel like I'm only as good as the guest I have on, really. So just the people you get to create with, is everything.
It's everything. And then in Rocky Mount, I had a rapper named Cosmic. He opened up as well. So that was, man. I can't thank them enough, man. They all saved my tail. Some of it was last minute. So,
well, I felt bad asking you a little bit after I did, because I was like, man, you just have so many people to name. You have so many people to thank, which is a good problem to have. I mean, you have so many people that are behind you that are helping you create stuff and like take it out on the road, produce this great art. I mean, I'm just really impressed with the kind of network you've been able to build in that regard.
Yeah, man, I'm super thankful. Everybody's been really kind, and like I can say people have really taken me in and shown me some things. And I've just kind of ran with it at this point. So
I think we exist to make each other better in a lot of ways.
100%.
I've always been in the belief that you can learn something from everyone. And, we all got kind of like gifts and skills that we all bring to the table that we kind of collaborate. It takes a village a little bit to like create something special or to, meet needs in a community, whatever you want to say. Like, I just think that's why I like to talk about collaboration, because I just think it's key to everything.
It is like there's no way like, first of all, I can't produce music. So I'm not a producer. So I 100% need a producer. And like to do a live show, like I need all this help. So like if anybody's going to be thankful, it's going to be me.
Yeah. And speaking of, so you got your album, Days Under Sun. I love that intentionality of taking it into coffee shops. Like I wondered if those were like how you found those venues or kind of what, so it's cool to hear that, making that coffee connection, kind of everything you're doing has these common threads and the way that it ties together. And I love that. So Days Under Sun, you got coffee. So you got Days Under Sun coffee, which is, I'll let you talk about that, but it's like I meet you and you have an album, you have all these things for me to start checking out. And then I come to find out, not only do you work at a great coffee shop, but you're running basically your own pop-up, you're running your own deal.
Yeah.
And that is very impressive. So talk more about Days Under Sun coffee.
Man, it's a very simplistic setup. Literally cold brew and drip and a pour over. And I think I have a friend of mine just going to start like making some batch lattes, but loving just doing that, man, and keeping things simple. Sometimes just in like a regular coffee shop, you're not able to engage with people as much as you would want to, just because there's so much to do. And so I'm really kind of being intentional about keeping things extremely simple, whether it's the options that's in front of you, whether that's like the location that we're in. But like I wanted to be able to engage with people on like a genuine level, versus having like, I don't even want to have the opportunity to be transactional. So, yeah, man, that's pretty much been the vibe with the pop-up, man. I've been popping up pretty much in Noda in Area 15, a couple of doors down from Bird Pizzeria. So if you ain't had their pizza, man, like you missing out.
Which I have not, so I've been missing out.
You've been missing out, bro, for real. But they the homies, man. And so, yeah, like that's pretty much the pop-up, man. And like using that as just another, not just another, but as another creative avenue to be creative and resonate and connect with other people around Charlotte, and any other place after that.
So what's been the outcome of doing it? So when did it start exactly?
Man, April 23rd. That was the first pop-up that I ever
this
did.
year.
Yeah. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So a little bit over a month now. And I was out of town last weekend, and I'll be out of town again this weekend. But typically it's Fridays and Saturdays, man, like 9 a.m. to noon. Just doing the simple things, bro, and serving folk.
What's that process been like? I mean, getting out there, meeting more people. I mean, how's the response been? Have you been able to, what are you learning? How are you connecting with people? All that stuff.
Man, the beautiful thing about it is I've been in coffee for about 4 to 5 years, kind of in between that. And like the coffee community is like, for the most part, if not, I can say all is like, everybody's just so supportive. There's been so many people from other coffee shops pulling up, showing some love, just excited for me. Like almost wanting to see me do well. And so there's a part of me that's like, oh man, I don't deserve this. But then there's a part of me that's just like, dude, like I just need to receive this and like enjoy this and celebrate this. And so like, thank you to everybody who's like pulled up and just like shown me a ton of love. It's always super encouraging because some days are feeling bleak, and then people like that show up, and then it kind of brightens the day.
Well, and in keeping with that theme, if I may, speaking of being a fanboy, I was on Instagram the other day, and you know how like they have that close friends option where you can like select it, and then you see like the green rim around the story circle pop up, the green circle.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but I instantly get a jolt of like, let's go. So I saw the green circle pop up around Days Under Sun Coffee, and I was like, my dude, and all that, I get the green circle. I haven't even been to a pop-up yet. I get the green circle. So we're going to have to change that. But
yeah,
one thing I've been curious about, since we're just kind of still getting to know each other, is what about coffee in general? Like maybe to use a coffee pun, take me to the root of it. You know? Like what about coffee in general? How did you get into that space? Like why is that such a thing you're passionate about and attracted to?
Man, I was working in church and we went to a conference in Philly, and one of the staff members that I was with decided they wanted to buy me a black cup of coffee, and I didn't think I was gonna like it. And turns out I liked it. It was a white bearded dude behind the counter explaining why the coffee was as good as it was, because I was completely confused at what I was tasting. Like, bro, why is this savory? Why do I like this? What'd you do to it? I need you to give me answers now. And as he chuckled, bro, he was like, nah, man, it's just, it's the process. He breaks it down. And when I went back to Raleigh, I was living in Raleigh at the time, I just started going to every coffee shop in town to see if I would have that same experience. It's pretty much like looking for that high again. And so after looking for that high again, I realized I was like, oh, I probably should just start working in coffee, because like I loved being in coffee shops. Like the spaces were typically like extremely, for lack of a better phrase, like hospitable, just relaxing. Like nobody bothered you. Like I'm an introvert, so I'm saying it as an introvert. Like nobody really cared what you were doing. And so I was like, oh, let me just go in there and I can like focus on my thoughts and my ideas, and I can read, and I can like, because at the time I didn't own a home, I didn't have a house. Like I was roommates or staying in somebody else's house. So I was like, I don't get a lot of alone time. So I was like, bro, I'm gonna go to a coffee shop and start getting my alone time and try new coffee. And so I think over like a 2-year span, man, I just was like trying new coffee like every day. Like I think my budget, like we really had to, dude that was like mentoring me really had to like challenge me on my budget, because my budget was becoming like coffee and food. Like I won't eating that much, but I was drinking a bunch of coffee and I won't really sleeping. So that's kind of like the root of it. That's how I got started. And then I started working in black and white. And after that, man, I just was like, yo, I think I want to be around for as long as the culture would have me.
I resonate with a lot of what you're sharing about what drew you to coffee and your passion for it, the amount of ludicrous money that you've spent on it over the years, and the level of caffeine that is always in your system at all times. Yeah. I relate to all of that. That is still me to this day, for better or worse. I think that's one of the reasons we connect so well, because I I am a white bearded dude. So my kind is often who you will find working the counter at your local coffee shop. Yeah. But it's coffee. There's just so much to it. I think I tend to be more extroverted, but I definitely have, I need a lot of alone time or the ability to recharge or focus or whatever. So what you're saying about coffee shops being kind of like a third space where you have community. So you have the community aspect. Like you were saying earlier with Days Under Sun Coffee, you don't want to be transactional. You want to get rid of that part of it. You want to be actually able to like connect and meet with people. And I think local coffee shops in many communities is the space where so much of that can happen. Yeah. And they facilitate that really well. So it's kind of it's that dual thing of like, you know, you're trying great coffees, you're learning about flavors. One thing I appreciate just about you as a person is the curiosity you seem to have about life and about things that you're creating or things that you're trying. I promise you, again, from my time working at Starbucks, that the majority of people that walk into a coffee shop are not thinking, hey, let me learn about these flavor notes more, how this, you know, what does it mean? You know, what is washed processing, or what is, you know, what food goes well with this coffee? What's the difference between a light roast and a medium roast and a dark roast? People are not thinking like that. So I think that speaks a lot to who you are in a good way as a person and your character, that you just have this instinctual curiosity about things like coffee or music or, you know, creativity, all these things.
Thanks, man.
So that is, I am drawn to people like you for that same reason, because that is who I effort to be, as somebody that lives life with that kind of curiosity about things and kind of removing the transactional nature of stuff. So, but I mean, yeah, it's, I forget where I was going with all that. I don't know. I've ironically, or maybe it's kind of keeping in line here with what we're talking about, but we got some coffee before we started recording, and it's coursing through my veins. So
right.
Now I'm like, oh, what was I talking about 2 minutes ago?
Yeah. And I mean, even to continue, like I ended up starting a coffee like brand when I first moved here called Nano Cream and Sugar, which was almost like so many entendres in that, because in those spaces, in most coffee spaces, I didn't see any like black people, like black and white. There's two owners. One's white, one's black, but I think he's mixed with something else. But like probably one of the first people of color I've ever seen in a coffee shop, like owning it and working it. And I was like, word, that's crazy. And I found out one of his first drinks that he did, like, cause they're like top baristas in the world. One of the first they ever did was named after an Outkast record. And like Outkast is how I got into hip hop. So I was like, bro, what's good? And then I meet another dude who just would pull up to black and white. His name's Steven, but he has a coffee company called TCE, the Coffee Enthusiast, and he roasts his own beans. So because of those two guys, I was super inspired to like really see where I could go with it, because I was like, they're doing their own thing, and I wonder what my thing is. And so that really started, like, that got my wheels turning. And then there's like artists like Propaganda who talk about coffee all the time. And at the time, dude, I was like, I wasn't drinking coffee, so I was like, bro, I have no idea why this dude is so into coffee. Like, why? And now I'm completely sold as to why he's into it. And so, like, low key, yo, he might actually be the OG of this whole, like, artist that loves coffee, that, like, talks about coffee quite a bit. Like, he really might be the OG. I think he is. I would say he is. Yeah, and, you know, I'm glad that I appreciate the way that you're framing all that and talking and sharing your passion for coffee, and, like, people like Propaganda that have inspired you, and so many other people. I think, you know, the last guest I had on, Keith Cradle, he was talking about this in regards to hiking and camping and all that, you know, just taking, you know, kids like, you know, black and brown kids and people that, you know, in spaces where, like, a coffee shop or, like, maybe hiking and stuff, these are traditionally thought of as, like, being primarily, like, functionally white spaces. Yeah. And that's certainly, you know, me growing up where I was at in Ohio, more like just a lot of the coffee shops I would frequent, I found that to kind of hold true. Yeah. You know, so one of the things I appreciate about, you know, like Days Under Sun Coffee, even that kind of hashtag, no cream or sugar, the double entendre,
all the thing, just the way you're intentionally also trying to transform spaces to be able to be more inclusive to people like yourself that are like, I love coffee.
Yeah.
I may not see a lot of people like myself in these spaces, but I love it. So I'm going to kind of step out in front and maybe help lead the charge on that.
Yeah. Like being a part of that, like I almost want to say, cause I'm in a whole group chat, like I'm a part of a very strong army now, like across the world. And I'm inspired by all of them. And I probably would take up a whole bunch of time on your podcast naming all of those people just because they're all incredible and they're all doing their thing, man. We're all just different, and like nobody's hating on each other in that group chat. It's just cool to see us as like just celebrate each other like that, doing the same thing. Like, which always reminds me, I'm like looking in that group chat, I'm like, there's so much room for everybody. That like it's weird that you would even like hate on someone getting an opportunity, because 9 times out of 10, them getting an opportunity could lead to you getting an opportunity. But people would rather be haters sometimes.
That's always been you're 100% right, which has always been super interesting to me, because it's this idea, I think, that is a false one, that there's only so much opportunity or success out there to be had. There's a limited amount, rather than thinking about it from an abundance standpoint of, do your thing 100%.
Yeah.
Like invite more people in, open up spaces more, get more people creating, passionate, trying stuff, whatever. There is no shortage. There's no cap on it.
Yeah. Like, and that's the thing, man. Like I'm a huge advocate for like competition and community. So like I should, in a sense, in a healthy way, be in competition with people I'm in community with, because at the end of the day, me watching them be great makes me want to be great, and it's iron sharpening iron every single time. And if I'm coming in lacking, I can't be mad at them if they're not. So like I make my community better if I'm giving everything that I have, and they do the same thing. So like whether they do better than me that day or that time, like at the end of the day, it's pushing all of us forward, even if we're competitively doing the same thing.
Yeah, and I think I remember where I was starting off earlier talking about coffee when I, so as is my want to do, lost my train of thought entirely. But just the idea of, coffee shops being a third space, community building, everything we're talking about ties together. And I'm enjoying our conversation for a lot of reasons. I don't, that's a little meta commentary. Like I'm having a lot of like fun talking about all this stuff. Like there's a lot of important stuff in here that we're talking about. And I appreciate you being willing to share about, where all these things come from for you and why you pursue them. But to me, I'm seeing those common threads for you of like, you're creating your music, whether, it's the Days Under Sun album, the coffee, everything you're kind of creating, and the ways you're being like an entrepreneur. It all kind of ties back, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the way I see it is like, because we've talked about this, like in person, just the idea of community building and investment. And so coffee shops are third spaces in communities where, theoretically everyone should be able to come together, extroverted, introverted, otherwise, and like share similar passion, share some good beverages, some conversation, get some work done. And seeing those spaces build in communities, whether it's a physical kind of brick and mortar space or a conceptual space, but just spaces where, much like we were talking earlier about with the music, the idea of collaboration, where people can create together, they can share together, they can feel at home with one another, they can celebrate what they have in common and celebrate differences and like learn from each other. Yeah. And it's this really communal thing. So maybe, I don't want to speak for you and kind of seeing these common threads, and you can tell me to go kick rocks if I'm like kind of making connections that aren't there, but just, I want you to talk more, if you will, and, maybe building off previous conversations we've had about just the idea of community building in general and investing in communities, whether it's, economically or creating equal opportunity, more equity, more inclusion, all these things that are kind of the, the hopeful outcomes of the things you're creating. But maybe just some of your vision, your ideas around that.
Man, even that's like sometimes a bit like I'm super optimistic about it, but I think I'm still learning exactly what opportunities I can create because of like what I've been around working at Enderly and seeing what doors is open, not just for me, but for other people. And even hearing other stories from other baristas and the shops that they're working at. And I was like, man, I need to like, there are so many things I still need to like learn. Like, whether that's like, I'm still grasping the idea. I mean, to be transparent, grasping the idea, and I'm rehearsing and reading more about pronouns than I ever thought I would in my whole entire life, because I want to make sure whatever space I create is like open to people like who are non-binary, who are like, you know what I mean, trans or whatever the case may be. And I'm learning, I'm like still reading and stuff like that, and like literally trying to get that into my conscience, and into like my worldview, and like making sure that I'm seeing and I'm respecting people the way that they're telling me to respect them. And so like with all of that, it's wanting to make Days Under the Sun coffee like a E for everybody space, to where it doesn't matter what your difference is. It doesn't matter like really what happens before you get in that door, that when you come in, dude, like you should be met with love, positivity, just appreciation. And I want to, again, going all the way back to how I want things to go, keeping things simple just allows me to see everybody, and it allows me to serve everybody with an open heart and not to be so busy, which goes back to my album. I didn't want to be so busy with music that I stopped being a husband, that I stopped being a dad, that I stopped being a friend, that I stopped doing all this stuff. So I was like, busyness, like in our culture by and large, kind of ruins our connectivity to each other. And I'm like, I want to be as present as I possibly can with whoever's in front of me. And so how do I create that space? And that's keeping things extremely simple.
I'm 100% all for that idea of, you know, E for everybody, keeping things simple, all that kind of stuff. I saw that in your Instagram profile. I hadn't noticed that before, I think, but just music, coffee, simplicity, you know, so much of the concepts you're sharing I resonate with and I think are important. And I hope people are kind of soaking that in. You know, when my first foray into like thinking more intentionally about community and this idea of it takes a village and family, and what does that mean, and opening that idea to be more broader than I had ever seen it. Yeah. That for me was my days kind of working in church world and having like, literally it was in my job title that I had to think about community and mission and all these concepts that are very people oriented and very organic, but kind of doing that within a faith organization. And this is something we've connected over and you've referenced it a few times on the pod, just, you know, working in churches, that being maybe where you experience community or providing a model for that. Can you talk about, you know, maybe how those experiences with church or just your personal faith kind of ties into all the stuff you're doing, the way you work to create space and opportunity and, you know, what you're building as an entrepreneur? Like, how does faith play into all of that?
Man, so I'm trying to figure out a good way to say this without making it seem like I'm crapping on the mission of church. But like, I just don't think the mission of the church is to just like get people in the building, multiply them, make sure the data lines up. But it's like, I don't really like, to me, it's like, it doesn't really matter how big or small your church is. It's like, especially if you're like from a pastor on down to whatever positions you have in your church, the ability to engage in any given human being at any given time should be like first priority. Like it doesn't make sense for a church to be like so much about the organization that it can't focus on the human being. Like to me, that's just wild to me. Like, I'm like, whoa. So the church I was working at in Raleigh was very much people oriented. Even if sometimes it didn't always feel like it, because I was still growing and understanding things. And no church is going to be perfect, but I was like, dude, that church, even in the church I met my wife at, we knew for a fact they cared about the human beings that were coming through those doors. And so finding a place or whatever the case may be was really hard. So, man, I think that's why I drive home so hard, like ridding myself of like busyness, because I don't think my faith actually like welcomes that. I don't think my faith actually welcomes me to be extremely busy. Like the work that I'm here to do doesn't separate me from human beings and my engagement with them. And so like, if I'm going to make music, if I'm going to make coffee and I'm saying that I believe in Jesus, like it's very, very weird. And I'm saying weird because I don't want to use another word, but it's weird that you would follow Jesus and not care for people and not like be willing to like strip away a lot of the busyness of things in order to care for people. And like, you have, like in my head, I'm like, you gotta ask yourself that question. Like, how come I'm so busy? And like, why is it so hard to engage with folks? Like, or why is, like, you know what I mean? Like, you got to ask yourself that, because sometimes it's just, bro, some of it just ain't even really biblical. You just out here like, you're just out here busting your tail for no reason. Like, you're not actually accomplishing the mission, bro. You've clearly aborted it. So it's like, you probably should slow down. So.
We're in agreement on all that. So I'm somebody personally that to this day, like the thing that I'm focused on improving about myself and working on is this strong desire in me that exists to always be achieving at all times, and how my identity gets wrapped up in that. And when you have that, you so well describe that tension that exists. Like I came up to learn that like the church is an organization and the people within it, that's kind of the organic part. And you're always going to kind of err on one side or the other, but like you should err more on that organic part, like taking care of the people. And I think the tension that exists and why there's so much hurt from the American church, because I haven't experienced church in other countries, so like I can only speak to like our evangelical Western context. You know, the reason I think, and it's vastly complicated issue. We're not even going to tackle it in a couple of minutes, but I think, and I'm not going to try, but I think at its core, one of those things that causes so much hurt and trauma within the church is there's that tension of the organization and the organic, and people just simply getting it twisted where all their focus is directed on the organization. And that is the mission. That is the basis of which their faith and their structure and all of it is founded on. And it's the churches I respect the most, that, because like you said, no church, that's kind of the cliche, no church is perfect, which unfortunately has been used to excuse a lot of truly terrible things. But we mean it in the sense of like just a general, like, yes, you're always going to, where people are, there's going to be issues and conflicts and flaws and things like that. But so many of my friends that I have such a great amount of respect for are pastors, that their work is trying to craft communities where as much as humanly possible, because at the end of the day, church is kind of a business. You have those issues of raising money and, whatever, all this stuff. But as much as humanly possible within that structure, they are trying to use it as the primary vehicle to craft, diverse and inclusionary and loving communities that get back to that root work of Jesus. As I understand it, it sounds like you understand it, from your time in church or, just studying all this stuff, which is like, it is about people. It's about that relationship that Jesus had with God, his Father, that like intimate, Abba relationship, right? And then it's about like how are we connected in community as a result of that relationship, and how does that transform the way we treat each other and the way we love each other in a really like practical day-to-day way. It's not the programs or all, it's like really like, it's very like grassroots. How do we do that with each other? And then to the extent that we have a mission out there, it's that like, it's this kind of balance. So like we're on mission with Jesus, but that mission doesn't mean exactly like you said, we just have to consider the mission of this organization. It's the true mission of what does it look like to be present with people and to connect and to love and to, all these things.
Right. And those things are hard, And if I like as hell, they can be really, really hard to like really be like locked in with people sometimes, because people go through things, and like it's just always been an interesting thing. And I'm like, of course I don't have all the answers, but I'll be like, man, we just really struggled in the past to find a place to land, because I'm like super distracted on a Sunday, so I'm like, we just doing the most. So I was like, we gonna peace out.
It's hard. It's difficult. My wife and I have, like Megan and I have really struggled, like without the built-in thing of me working for a church, we've struggled to find, organic community, especially, you layer on that moving somewhere completely new, a global pandemic, all this stuff. It's that desire for community because I want to make this clear. I've experienced such healthy versions of community, not perfect, but healthy.
Right.
So I feel spoiled. I feel biased.
Man, me and Kara say that all the, well, my wife's name is Kara. We say that all the time. I was like, dude, we were so spoiled in Raleigh. Like, we were two of the most spoiled people on the planet when it came to finding a body of like believers to just hang with and do life. But it's like, I mean, not trying to knock Charlotte, but it's like, man, yeah, what we doing, bro?
It's hard. Yeah, we talked about it more candidly off air, but yeah, it's difficult to find that, especially if you've experienced it.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of, again, the thing, like, we're not trying to solve this issue. We're just sharing our personal experience with it. But it's like, you know it when you see it. You can't like unlearn or unsee the things you've learned or seen that are unhealthy or that were healthy. And it's like the older you get, especially, community and love and true, like things that are truly going to help people like grow and transform and be more like Jesus, like who I believe God's character to be like, who I believe Jesus to be like, as told in scripture, like it's not this Christian nationalism stuff. It's like, so it's like, it becomes increasingly difficult to, you almost can't go back. Like every time I go into a church, this is my also my thing to work on and grow and improve. And it's like, because I've, seen what goes on behind the scenes, it's like every time I go into a church, oh man, it's so hard. It's so difficult to like detach from that experience.
You know too much. You know too much. You see things happening. You're like, bro, I know exactly why they doing that. This is like sometimes I can be extreme, like, bro, this is completely evil, and we need to grab our things and leave. But it's like, nah, it's really not, man. Some people only do what they know, and like certain things have just like really, really good intentions. And I know there's good people in every spot, man, but we just like, bro.
And that's why I always come back to, because you're 100% right. That's why I always come back to some of the best encouragement I've ever received from mentors, friends, authors I read, like anybody that I respect, is like this idea of, of course, acknowledge the problems, of course, acknowledge the issues. And it's not, find safe spaces to just talk about your experiences and like process and name things for what they are, right? You don't just pretend like there's no issues or there's nothing wrong or whatever, nothing can be, but it's the idea of balancing that with like, just like you can also be somebody that helps transform a place where you can't change it entirely. You don't like, we're all just one person, but you can be a good influence on others of like, to model, hey, here's maybe kind of a good way to live or to treat people or work out this mission. Yeah. It's that idea of, it's not just, it's acknowledging church for kind of what it lacks or what it could be, while also trying to work on maybe some positive solutions to create the types of communities or churches or whatever that you would like to see. Yep. Kind of similar to what you're doing of like, you're creating things that all goes back to like, this is what I want to see exist when it comes to community or some of these things I'm passionate about. So I'm going to like proactively create it. Yep. And I think there's always value in, being like, we could go on and on about like, what does it look like to, help build up existing organizations or church. There's all these like ways you can kind of take that conversation. But I think at the end of the day, for me as a person, what I'm always trying to balance is, yes, I have anger. Yes, I have cynicism. Yes, I have hurt and trauma and things that I'm constantly working on, like so many of my peers, like yourself. Yeah. And how do I balance that with also trying to be the type of person, create the type of thing that I want to see exist in the world? And for me personally, this podcast is a part of that. But it's just trying to like balance some of that energy to like create something that will help be a healing place for people.
Right. 100%. I think even from the past episodes that I've heard from you, like, I think you're doing that. And, yeah, bro, it's been a special thing.
You affirm me too much. You say you're bad at accepting affirmation. I am too. I don't know. I appreciate it. Yeah. You've been very encouraging of this. And I appreciate you coming on and, all that encouragement and affirmation. And I hope people listening feel that as well. So as we kind of wrap up here, just a couple more. You've been so gracious with your time. I can't thank you enough. I'm endlessly excited to listen back to this and just be able to hear what you're saying and kind of keep learning from the things you're sharing. So like what encouragement? We've talked about a lot of things, so I'm gonna generalize this because we could go a lot of directions. But what is encouragement that you would give to anybody listening? Like just something you've been learning, something you've been thinking through, that you would just like, if I can leave you with one thing, like here's what I would encourage you on.
Oh man, you're not as bad as you think you are, and you should like slow down. You should just slow down, and like. And when I say like slow down, I mean like literally slow down and like throw some blinders on and like just do you. Like at this point in your life, it's just not worth comparing yourself. It's not worth chasing what you see from other people. Like it's just not worth it, like at all. But doing you is what I need you to do, is what we need you to do. And so the only way though you can get to that is by slowing down. So
I've often heard it said, and it rings true for me, comparison is the thief of joy.
100%.
And it's the thief of collaboration. Yeah. If I'm worried about, oh, you got this, you're doing this better than me, like how am I going to see the ways that we can work together?
Yeah. And yeah, how we like ways we can work together, ways I can get better, right? Like I grew up playing basketball. I would have rather trained with the best guys in the city than just training. I was like, because if he's a shooter, I need to watch this guy shoot. And I wasn't that good at shooting. And then I got better at shooting. So maybe you shouldn't train with me if you don't want me to get better. But
yeah, to bring it a little bit full circle on the basketball thing, because we kind of came of age in a similar era. So I was like, all right, I'm 6'4", like, yeah. So I would be a point guard in my wildest NBA dreams. Like all those dudes are super tall, yeah. Right? But if I'm playing pickup, right, like I'm the center automatically. Yeah. So I remember trying to learn all that fancy like Hakeem Olajuwon footwork and doing all the dream, the hook shots and all that stuff. That went out of style quickly. Let me tell you, that small ball is what they're doing now. You look at the two teams in the finals, Golden State and Boston, that is what they're doing.
Exactly. Like, I'm excited, man. I'm actually getting people together to like watch games because I'm like, I don't want to miss a game of the finals.
You sent out a tweet yesterday that was like, who's trying to get together to watch these games? And I did the real passive thing of liking it. I was like, maybe if he sees that I liked it, rather than me just invite myself, and he'll be like, oh, hey, bro, saw you liked my tweet about the finals. But yeah, if there's an invitation, because I don't have ABC, I'm not that. So
right, I'm about to ask my wife if I can get Sling for the month, and bro, just to try my best to invite people over.
Even though I personally struggle with Boston and Golden State being the two teams in the finals, as an avid Cleveland Cavaliers fan and apologist, I still appreciate the game of basketball. So
right, and I'm a Lakers fan, and so my like arch rival is in there, and they're just looking so good, and like I'm sure they're gonna lose in 7, but that's my take. I'm choosing Golden State in 7.
It's like, yeah, it's at the point for me where I'm like, I don't even know who to root for. I'm like the person that doesn't watch sports with this finals, where I'm like, go sports. I just hope everyone has a great time. I hope all the players stay healthy. I hope they make all their shots.
And I'm not going to watch it.
I'm not. Yeah, no, I'll watch it. But yeah. So all right. So last question: where can people follow all of your incredible work? How can they support you?
Man, my Cash App is. I'm just playing.
I haven't had somebody do that. Would be perfect. You're like, all right, I got my Venmo. Like people just typically give their social handles, their website, but Tecoby's like, here's my Cash App, my Venmo.
My Venmo. Yeah. I'm trying to do this full time, but Instagram and Twitter is it's Tecoby. So NAHITS TECOBY, and then my coffee is Days Under Sun Coffee. And that's on Instagram, and I have yet to make a Twitter for it. So there it is.
please, I can't implore you enough to go follow all the incredible work that Tecoby is doing. Get to know him if you're in the area. Stop by the pop-up. Wherever you are, please check out Days Under Sun album. I'm saying please a lot, but it's just because this guy is awesome. I'm so grateful that he took the time to come on the Easter Pod and chat with me. It's been a great, joyful journey for me to get to know him more, to get to know more of his work. So I just want you to be able to share in on all that joy and awesomeness. But Tecoby, we've talked a lot offline, like standing in the coffee shop, just chatting about some of the stuff we talked about on this podcast. Yeah. I knew you'd be a great guest. You didn't disappoint. I just have to thank you again so much for coming on the Easter Pod.
Bro, thanks for having me on the Easter Pod. I was bragging about coming on the Easter Pod to my wife. So, yes, sir.
So we're turning a corner. Maybe we're starting to kick this thing out. Like people are I've been bragging about people I get to have on. Now it's flipping a little bit.
That's it, bro. That's the pivot that you want.
There you go. Well, thank you so much. I'm terrible at ending podcasts. Maybe that's going to be my sign off on every show, just how bad I am at it. So check out all his work, and thank you again, Tecoby. I appreciate it.
All right, family. Peace.
The signs in my head like I'm rhyming. Colors in my head like I'm rhyming. Telling girl about my art. Build me a space with the texture. Think about all my feels. Most times I'm cold. Singing warm like I'm snow dough. Loving painting pictures, but never for promo.